Hi, I'm Tom Field with Information Security Media Group. I'm talking about continuous compromise assessment today, and it's my pleasure to welcome back to the studio Ricardo Villadiego. He is the founder and CEO of Lumu Technologies. Ricardo, such a pleasure to see you in the studio again.
It's always a great pleasure to be here, Tom.
So we're at RSA Conference 2020, and as you come into the conference, it's always a time to sort of stop and assess the trends in the industry and what we're seeing. What sort of perspective do you bring to the conference this year?
Well, I think, Tom, the cybersecurity industry is always changing, right? And that change is driven by the fact that attacks can evolve infinitely. However, there is something in the past 18 years that have been attending to the conference that always left me wondering, which is how come organizations are not able to identify if they have been compromised? Right? How is it possible that after the deployment of billions of dollars on cyber defense, an organization cannot tell with certainty their level of compromise? How is it possible that the only thing that we're supposed to avoid in cybersecurity, which is compromised, is exactly the one thing that we're not measuring intentionally? So I've been highly intrigued by this issue, and I have made it my mission to help organizations to understand their unique level of compromise.
You make a good point, because we hammer home to organizations all the time that you either have been compromised or you don't know it yet, and people have accepted that. So in your new venture, how are you helping organizations to answer that question? Have I been compromised?
Good question. When you read the report, the forensic report of the past breaches, there's a common denominator. And that common denominator is that the bad guys were within the networks between 6 to 18 months. Imagine someone hidden in the basement of your house without you knowing it for 6 months. It's unbelievable. So what we have done at Lumu is creating this concept of continuous compromise assessment. And continuous compromise assessment provides the ability to organizations to intentionally look for compromises. I think the thing that's missing in the industry today is the fact that you're not looking intentionally for compromises. That's what's missing. You intentionally are measuring other things in cybersecurity, but you're not intentionally measuring compromise. What we have built with continuous compromise assessment is exactly filling that gap, is providing the organization with the ability to measuring intentionally, and better yet, continuously compromise within the organization. And the end result of that process is that they now can put their cybersecurity program to test, but more importantly, they can become more cyber resilient.
So Ricardo, for the past 25 years, we've had penetration testing, we've had vulnerability assessment. Why haven't these types of tools enabled organizations to more proactively look for compromise?
Well, simply, and the simple answer to that is that those tools weren't designed to identify compromise. You find problems in defense using penetration testing, and you fix those problems, and you believe you're secure. You find vulnerabilities using vulnerability scanning. You patch those vulnerabilities, and you think you're secure. But the fact of the matter is that those tools weren't designed to intentionally look for adversaries inside the network. So you don't find them, right? You don't find those adversaries. You live within that false sense of security that you fix your problems in defense, that you patch your vulnerabilities, yet the adversaries are already within the network. And a proof that what I'm telling you is right is the number of national brands that have been victimized while their security programs include multiple penetration testing every year, multiple vulnerability assessments every quarter. So the call to action, in my view, for security practitioners and even regulators is that we need to extend our cybersecurity program to enhance them and include the concept of compromise assessment within that program.
So talk to me a little bit about your new venture, Lumu Technologies, and how you're supporting this concept we talked about of continuous compromise assessment.
Well, the industry has been speaking a lot about assume you're compromised
Right.
and prove otherwise, right? We have elevated that concept and we have make it a technology out of that concept. Technology that organizations can deploy to implement continuous compromise assessments. So now organizations for the first time have the ability to measure intentionally compromise within their organization. And what we mean by measuring compromise, the end result of that process is identifying assets within the organization that are showing behavior of communications with adversarial infrastructure outside the network. If that is the case, then the conclusion is evident. That device has been compromised, and now we need to mitigate it as soon as possible. The end result of implementing this concept of continuous compromise assessment is, A, that you have the ability to test your cybersecurity program. You become cyber resilient because now you know exactly the coordinates where the bad guys are attacking. And number three, and more importantly in this war, is that you eliminate the uncertainty of the investments that you're making in cybersecurity. For the first time, organizations have the ability to invest in defense technology based upon the facts of where they have been attacks, where the adversary is interested in their networks. I invite all your audience around the world, Tom, to go to our website, sign up to Lumu free, and start measuring compromises in less than 30 minutes coming from their networks. I think for the first time, enterprises can say that they can measure, the measurement of compromise is at their fingertips.
Fascinating topic. I look forward to following up with you and discussing this further. Ricardo, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure.
Tom, always a pleasure.
We've been speaking with Ricardo Villadiego. He is the CEO and founder of Lumu Technologies. And for Information Security Media Group, I'm Tom Field. Thank you very much.